Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness unto light, lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Om Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swami Netapaharine. Salutations to Swami Vivekananda. Good morning and namaste, everybody. It's wonderful to be back here in Hollywood, in California and in Hollywood. My special thanks to revered Swami Sarvapriyananda Maharaj, who has given me this opportunity, this invitation and this opportunity and arranged this wonderful occasion. My pranams to revered monks, Matajis, other monastic members, and friends, dear friends. I started with a salutation to Swami Vivekananda because the talk today, this morning, is a reflection on a talk given by Swami Vivekananda in New York in 1896. This is we found in, I think, the third volume of the complete works of Swami Vivekananda. It's called One Existence Appearing as Many. That was the title of the talk. It was a series of talks, and this was the final one. I am going to just sort of reflect on this and share some thoughts. Let's just think together and reflect on it. And afterwards there'll be a short Q&A session also after the talk. You know, just a couple of days ago, Dana, who is here, he asked a question. That isn't it true that all of this, what you're talking about, it all depends crucially on dispassion, on overcoming desire, on letting go desire, purifying the mind. Absolutely, deeply, totally. Isn't it true? And I said, of course it does. Now, interestingly, this talk, Swami Vivekananda, One Existence Appearing as Many, he begins with this question raised by Dana. The first thing he says is, Vairagya is the turning point in all the yogas. Dispassion, overcoming desire, purifying the mind, letting go of worldliness. That is the turning point in all the yogas. What pushes us from worldliness to spirituality? Even in religion, from a kind of mass conventional religion to the higher religion, from religion to spirituality, the turning point, the crucial condition is Vairagya. It's a Sanskrit word, Vairagya. It has a connotation of, our mind has been dipped in worldliness. All the time, I want, likes and dislikes, temptation and terror. This is how we are conditioned. We must rise above this to be spiritual. Without that, no spirituality is possible. Even some kind of conventional mass religion is possible, but Vivekananda calls that a shopkeeping religion. I take my shopping list, usually I take it to Amazon, but now I take it to God. I make this distinction between conventional religion and higher religion, between religion and spirituality on this point. Is God for my life, or is my life for God? Is God for my life, or is my life for God? What is God for my life? There are many things which are conveniences to me in life. A washing machine is a convenience, a car is a convenience, Wi-Fi is a convenience. I saw once this gentleman who was clearly homeless, sitting outside a supermarket in New York, and on the street, but sitting near a convenience store. And somebody told me, you know why he sits there? Because he gets Wi-Fi from the store. So all of these are conveniences to us in life, and God is one more convenience, makes our life easier. Now that's God for my life. Nothing wrong in it. We must not denigrate it. Mass religion is like that. At least there is faith in God. At at least there is faith in something transcendent. The hope is that they will overcome, people will move on from asking for things, from the Christmas list, giving it to God, treating God as Santa Claus. Move on from there. And there's nothing wrong in that, but one must move on from there. Sometimes people say, I used to believe in God, then this terrible thing happened to me, and now I don't believe in God anymore. Or I used to believe in God, and I really, really prayed for something to happen. I wanted something, and God didn't give it to me, so I don't believe in God. It's all just fairy tales. What happened? I had hired God to do a job, improve my life, and you couldn't do it. You're fired. You're just fired. That's the loss of belief in God, because God is not serving my purpose anymore. But God for my life, we go from there to my life for God. From God for my life to my life for God, I become a God seeker. My goal is God realization, enlightenment, salvation, moksha, nirvana. There are many, many words. This is a quest as ancient as humanity itself. This is the highest quest, the greatest adventure that we can go on. Not all of us can climb Mount Everest. Not all of us can go to the moon. But all of us can and should and must go to God, must realize God. But the crucial turning point is vairagya, a certain maturity, when we begin to see through the glitzy promises of this world, that not only is this Hollywood, the whole world is Hollywood. We begin to see through that. It requires maturity, but the sooner that we do it, the better. Vairagya. And Vivekananda, in his incisive way, he examines each of the yogas to answer Dana's question. Each of the yogas. Our work, he says, karma, becomes karma yoga. Work becomes spirituality when one gives up the results of work. Gives up the results of work means we are doing things to get something in the world. It's quite obvious. I work because I get money, I get prestige, I get awards, I get appreciation. That's why I work. Now, if I don't work for that, I work maybe as a service to God, not for me, for the welfare of the world, as a service to humanity, as a service to all living beings. The Bodhisattva vow that I shall keep on working and serving and inspiring until all sentient beings are liberated. So that's for others, not at all for this little self, not at all for I, me, mine. That is vairagya in the sphere of karma yoga. Then karma, action, becomes spirituality. Karma becomes karma yoga. You're still doing the same action. That's the beauty of karma yoga. You're still going to office, looking after your family, whatever work that you do. But now that becomes spiritual practice. But the crucial turning point is vairagya, dispassion. Not using it for shopkeeping. I'll do this, I'll get that in. Vivekananda says, in his poem, he says, give, give, and do not look back. Whosoever looks back, his ocean dwindles to a drop. So that is the attitude of the karma yogi. I shall give. I shall not want. I shall not ask. Before passing, Sri Ramakrishna's last instructions to the Holy Mother, how to live when I'm gone from this physical world. He said, never put your hand out like this to anybody. Always like this, I give, I do not ask for anything. That is vairagya. Then Swamiji says, the bhakti yoga, in bhakti yoga, one gives up all little loves for one great, this is Swamiji's language, one great almighty omnipresent love. Giving up all little desires. See, the nature of desire is that it is of the nature of I want, I want, I want, I want, in the world, whatever. It could be gadgets, relationships, money, achievements, recognition, Facebook likes, parking. So I want, grasping out into the world. And it is it's in another feature of desire is it's 100-fold, it's 1,000-fold. It's spread out in the world, a network of desires, each one of us. Now, the nature of bhakti is that all of those desires are now collected into one almighty desire. Now it's called love. And this is directed towards God. Not towards the human, not towards the material, but towards God. Then desire becomes devotion. But the crucial turning point is vairagya, dispassion. One must rise above, I want, I want, I want. You see, Swami Vivekananda, he later, I will discuss it a little more, that maturity comes when we realize that we are not becoming happy by this I want, I want. Vivekananda says in one place that, do not want anything, do not desire anything. Why not? Because you'll get it. What's so alarming about that? What's so alarming is this, that when we want something in this world, and we get it, the result is always, invariably, dissatisfaction. It's never enough. If we want things in this world, there are only two possibilities. Either we won't get what we want, then frustration, or we will get what we want, then dissatisfaction. These are the only two default values in this world, dissatisfaction or frustration. We don't see it because the world is Hollywood, doesn't allow us to see it. It's dressed up in glamorous clothes. And so we get sucked into it, and we spend our lives in vain here until a maturity comes. Vairagya, dispassion. Then Vivekananda says, the meditator, the yogi has vairagya. In what sense? To become a yogi, a meditator, one must have vairagya, dispassion for all experience, subject-object experience. I want to see, I want to hear, I want to smell, I want to taste, I want to touch. What does the yogi do? Stop. Sit. Close your eyes. Shut off your senses. Look inwards. Stop talking. Stop mental talking. Stop thinking. So all subject-object experience. That is the essence of Patanjali Yoga. The essence of yoga is chitta vritti nirodha, the cessation of the modifications of the mind. But what are modifications of the mind? Just our thoughts, perceptions, feelings, just all sorts of experiences which we call life itself. And here you must have vairagya towards all kinds of course here experience means worldly experience, sensory experience. So I have vairagya towards that. No, I'm not interested in seeing. No, I'm not interested in hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. I'm interested in the reality that lies within. Calm down the movements of the mind and see the reality which transcends the mind. That is the vairagya of the yogi, of the Raja Yogi, the Patanjali Yogi, has to give up this hankering of moving outwards into the world. Freud, that old curmudgeon, but he had some wonderful insights. He was a total atheist, but he had some wonderful insights into human nature. And he defines all our activities as prompted by libido, and we think he's talking about lust or passion. But the way he defines libido, any movement of the subject towards the object is libido. That's a vast range, the entire spectrum of most human activities. Whatever makes you flow outwards into the world. And the yogi, the Raja Yogi, has dispassion, vairagya for that. Without that, if you sit quietly in meditation, it won't work because the mind is pushing you outwards. You must let go of it from the mind. Then only you can sit calmly and turn inwards. Vairagya towards all external experience, all sensory experience. And then Vivekananda says that vairagya of the jnani on the path of knowledge is the greatest of all. It has to be, because his sacrifice, he has to let go of the universe itself. He has to let go of the universe itself. Because from the jnani's point of view, from the path of knowledge and the path of Advaita, the entire display is a display. It's not reality. And if you are in the path of knowledge, you're in search of truth. What's real? What's really happening here? It's not here. The entire thing has to be let go from the very beginning. Vairagya. That's why when we study Vedanta, the first thing we study is Vairagya. Ihamutra phalabhogartha viragaha. For every desire for any kind of experience and enjoyment of anything in this world, here or hereafter, in heavenly delights. You have to let go of it right now before you enter through the doors of knowledge. Vairagya is crucial, he says. It's a turning point in our spiritual quest, this dispassion. So Dana, you're right. And Vivekananda agrees with you. Suppose he said, it's too tall a demand. I can't do it. Well, then the path will be slower. It will be a little more difficult. With the intense Vairagya, it's easier. It's faster. People ask, at this point, I was just thinking, people ask so many questions about spiritual life. Most of the questions don't have much to do with spirituality. They are physical problems, relationship problems, mental problems, psychological problems. And 80%, not all of them, but 80% of our problems can be solved by Vairagya. By Vairagya. By dispassion, by the attitude, I do not want anything from anybody. There was, I think it was Swami Subodhanandaji, in one of Sri Ramakrishna's disciples, Swami Vivekananda's brother disciples, in our main monastery in Belur Mutt. And there were a group of American devotees visiting, including some American women, Josephine MacLeod and others. And they wanted something, they wanted to ask him, and Vivekananda had asked him to help. And he said, I don't know English, and I can't talk to these American ladies. And Vivekananda, he was mischievous. He said, whatever they say, just tell them, give them what they need, and they'll say thank you, and then you just say, I don't care. And he did that. So, of course, the American ladies realized it was Vivekananda behind that mischief. But that's Vairagya. You say, the world says thank you to you, and you say, I don't care. I don't care. Most of the problems in our lives, 80% is solved with Vairagya, dispassion. I don't care. So one Swami put, what does Vedanta do for you? He put it very beautifully. It allows you to move from what to so what. The crucial turning point is Vairagya. Shankaracharya sings, Kasya sukham na karoti viragaha. He says, he describes the life of a traditional monk wandering monk in India. Tarutala vasa, karatala bhiksha. Whatever food, whatever chance brings, you take food with the palm of your hand. There's a story about this. So there was a monk in the Himalayas, and it's a true story. So he had almost no possessions, but he had a begging bowl. And one day the begging bowl there's a hole in it. And there's a devotee who would visit him once in every few months and asked him, Swami, can I do something for you? And he would say, no, I don't need anything. And finally, when he kept on bugging, let me do something for you. Look, your begging bowl has a hole in it. Let me get you a new one. In those days, you had to go a few thousand feet below to a market and buy something. So this devotee went, and the next time he came back after a week, he gave him a shining new begging bowl. And the Swami said, I don't want it. Why? How will you beg for your food? Oh, in this 1 week, I found I could beg for my food with my hands. And whatever came in the hands, I ate that, and that's it. I don't need anything. I don't need a bowl anymore. So, Shankaracharya says, begging for your food with your hands. And where do you sleep? As Vivekananda says, the sky thy roof, the grass thy bed. Shankaracharya says, Tarutala vasa. You live under a tree. And Kasya sukham na karoti viraga. Who, if you live like this, who is the one who will not be happy, who will not be, completely free of all burdens? You may think, oh, it's such a difficult life. People tell me, oh, you monks, you have such a difficult life, especially in the mountains and in the forests. No. You have a difficult life. We don't. Somebody came to our main monastery, Belur Mutt, and Swami Brahmananda was there. This visitor bowed down to Swami Brahmananda and said, I bow down to you. Your sacrifice is so great. You have given up the world for seeking God. And Swami Brahmananda bowed down even more deeply. Because, sir, your sacrifice is even greater. You've given up God for the world. We have thrown away a few pieces of glass for getting a diamond. You've thrown away the diamond for a few pieces of glass. So Vairagya, dispassion, is the turning point. Now Vivekananda goes on. The next question in our minds is, or should be, what's the point of it? You are asking me to give up everything that I know and love and want, and yes, also something that gives me suffering and fear and anxiety. But you're asking me to give it all up for what? For what? Swami Vivekananda says that religion is a solution to our problems, but the solution sometimes seems to be worse than the problem. And he gives the example of the man who was being bothered by a fly or a mosquito. And his friend came to help him. And he said, sit still, I'm going to kill the mosquito. And gave the man's head such a blow, it killed the mosquito, but killed the man too. The problem was solved, but we don't want a solution like that. And religion seems to give such a solution. Look at this, Vairagya. And we say, hold on. Vairagya, dispassion, no desire, then where's all the fun in life? Where's all the fun in life? What's the point of it? What am I trading in my whole world, my life for? What am I getting in return? What's the utility of all of this? And Vivekananda's first answer always is that these questions are of no value for the person who seeks knowledge, because truth is above utility. Truth is has its own value. You're seeking what's real. But having said that, there is the greatest utility. There is the greatest utility. It takes us beyond sorrow and gives us the ultimate happiness. Isn't that what we want in life? All that we are doing in life, everybody, whether worldly or spiritual, you may not have a spiritual bone in your body, but what you are doing in your life and what the greatest yogi is doing in his or her life is the same thing. We're trying to overcome suffering and attain fulfillment. Some of us are doing it wisely, others are doing it otherwisely. But the same struggle. I remember when I was a novice many, many years ago, decades ago in fact, I was reading this American philosophy, a quintessentially American philosophy. It's called pragmatism. You know, Charles Sanders Peirce, William James, and it is sometimes oversimplified as cash value philosophy. What good is it? What practical value is there? The test of truth. What's real? What's true? The test of truth is practical value. What does it do for me, for society, for community? So I asked a teacher of ours in our monastic training center in the main monastery one day. I still remember sitting there, armed with my new American philosophy. I asked, Swami, what good is it? What practical value, what cash value is there in Vedanta? And he smiled at me and he said, there is the greatest value. It gives you ultimate happiness and solves all your problems. That's how Vedanta is, it's how is it plugged? What's the selling point? Atyantika dukkha nivritti, complete cessation of all sorrow, complete transcendence of all sorrow. That's what the Buddha's project was. All of Buddhism, what is it? There is suffering, there is a cause of suffering, and there is a remedy, an escape from suffering, a freedom from suffering, and there is a way of doing it. Fourfold truth. Dukkha, suffering, the truth of all pervasive suffering. Second, Trishna, desire, the cause of suffering. And third, nirvana, the solution to suffering, freedom from suffering. And Ashtanga Marga, the eightfold way, the noble eightfold way, which takes us beyond suffering. So Vedanta promises that. It takes you beyond suffering. That is the value. And not only that, it's not just negative. It promises us ultimate happiness, bliss, ananda, fulfillment. That's the promise of Vedanta. Which is something that we are all struggling to do. It just shows us the highest, the deepest, most profound way of doing it. This is the promise of all spirituality, the higher religion. The promise of all spirituality. In every religious tradition, there is a spiritual core, and the promise is this. That is a solution to your problems. This is what you have been hankering for. This is what you have been asking for. Here also, it's linked to Vairagya. It just struck me that in the Taittiriya Upanishad, in one of the Upanishads, there is a section called Ananda Mimamsa, an analysis of happiness. And in that section, what they have done is a beautiful, very interesting section. It's in the second chapter of the Taittiriya Upanishad. It's an inquiry into happiness, into bliss. What makes us happy? How can we be happy? Takes up first the conventional way of being happy, of being successful, rich, powerful, enjoying life in this world. And in the next world. So enjoyment. Subject-object enjoyment. I am the enjoyer, and I enjoy all sorts of sense enjoyments. And it contrasts it with the second way of attaining happiness, which is through dispassion. So it starts off by saying that Taittiriya Upanishad, that section. Imagine a person who has everything in life. In order to be happy, what do you need to be happy? Most happy, as much maximum human happiness possible. The first thing you need is, I'm sorry for all the senior people here, Upanishad says, it's not me, the Upanishad says, you need to be young. You need to be young. Yuva syat. I remember I said this in one talk somewhere. There are a lot of elderly people there, and the whole audience, most of them went boo. But no. It's something that we understand as we grow older and older. The senior-most member in our Vedanta Society in New York is Bill Conrad. He's 99 this month. He's 99 years old. And he's been coming to the Vedanta Society of New York since 1955, every day. And he quotes Betty Davis to me. He says, Swami, old age is not for sissies. Yeah. Recently he's taken to using the ambulance, the 911, like Lyft and Uber, Basically gets around the city in Manhattan by an ambulance in style. So you have to be young, and not just young. You have to be rich. This is Prithvirasya Vittasya Purnasyat, all the riches of the world. Jeff Bezos and who else? Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates, and all that wealth all put together. It has to be in the hands of this one young person. All the wealth in the world. You can't be young and saddled with college debt and then expect to be happy. No. And the person is of sadhusyat, good character, of noble character, with good intentions, with good character and morals and ethics. That makes you happy. And then this person is supposed to be highly learned, has got PhDs from all the Ivy League colleges, and so all of that they paint a picture for you. And when you read that, you have a smiley face. It really, even to read it makes you happy. And he says, a person who has dispassion for all those objects of happiness and who wants to realize God. Wants to love God, work for God, meditate on God, and realize the identity with God, has a dispassion for all these worldly happinesses. The Upanishad says, that person with vairagya, the phrase is Shrotriyasya cha kamahatasya, the one who is well established in the spiritual path and has dispassion for all these desires, vairagya, that person gets 100 times more happiness than this most happy worldly person. And then the Upanishad goes on. There are other worldly happinesses. There are other worlds. And if you go to that, you get more and more intense happiness. Equally, this spiritual seeker, right here in this world, in this life, if you have dispassion for those other worldly happinesses, and you are well established in your spiritual quest, you will get more happiness than that guy. So that guy has to... How many people are so rich and so young and healthy? And that was another condition. You have to be young and healthy. You have to be very strong. So all of that, how many people have that? Maybe one person in a generation. And yet we all have the option of being happy through dispassion. So Vivekananda says this question of utility, yes, it has the greatest utility. Vairagya, dispassion has the greatest utility when you combine it with a spiritual quest. Not by itself. I don't want anything, I don't like anything. That's depression, that's not spirituality. On the other hand, I want God. Yes, I really want God. I want to be enlightened. I want to be a Buddha. But I also want to be a millionaire. Then you are putting shackles on your feet. You will make progress towards spirituality, but much more slowly. So if you make an effort, Sri Ramakrishna put it very simply. Ishare anurag vishaya virag. A dispassion for worldliness, for things of the world, and a pull towards God. That's spirituality. That's spirituality. He put it even more evocatively and sweetly. He says, Sri Ramakrishna, when the child is sad, when the child is playing with its toys, a little baby, the mother is busy with her housework. But when the baby throws the toys away and screams and cries for its mother and says, Ma, mother, actually he says, Ma jabo, I'll go to my mother. The mother puts aside her work and runs to the baby and takes the baby on her lap. So that throwing away the toys of the world and turning towards the mother, that is dispassion. Yeah. Somebody said, got it. Which means it's a signal. Move on. We got it. Yeah, but that's true. But that's true. This is crucial. Sri Ramakrishna speaks about 3 kinds of joy. Vishayananda, Bhajanananda, Brahmananda. The pleasure. Yes, there is happiness in eating a cookie. The joy of worldly pleasures. But much higher, much safer, much more sustainable, deeper and more enriching. The worldly joys are exhausting. Somerset Maugham said, if one searches for pleasure very intensively, single-mindedly chases pleasure. Yeah, those are his words. If somebody single-mindedly chases pleasure, very soon he finds nothing pleasing anymore. One gets jaded with worldly pleasure. But the joy of God in devotion, in service, in meditation, and in inquiry, in a path of knowledge, that is inexhaustible. That's called Bhajanananda, the joy of spiritual practice. And when you actually attain to God, that is infinitely more than even Bhajanananda. That's called Brahmananda, the bliss of the infinite, the bliss of the absolute, the bliss of Brahman. And that is Vivekananda's topic, and that's our topic today. One existence appearing as many. Moving on. Swami Vivekananda, in that talk, he says the same thing. I counted 5 times. What is that? Basically, one existence appearing as many. Towards the end, he says, there's one thing that you should take away from this lecture. He didn't use the word take away. The lecture is about one thing, that there is only one reality which appears to us as many. Swami Vivekananda says, we are all born monists. I'm quoting his words exactly. We are all born monists. We see, and we can only see one thing at a time. When we experience life through our senses, we see matter. When we experience it through our mind, we see the world of thoughts, feelings, and ideas. The same thing. And then when we see the same thing as it really is, we see the Atman. We experience it as existence, consciousness, bliss. Let me repeat. We are born monists. We are born non-dualists, Advaitins. This is a very interesting idea. We generally think we are all dualists, and this non-duality is a cool new philosophical idea. I'm trying to understand it. No, he says you can't help being a non-dualist. You can't help being a oneist because you always see one. No, Swami, we don't. We're seeing many now. Yes, but it is one thing appearing as many that we are seeing right now. When we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, forms and sounds and flavors and warm and soft or hard and cold, whatever we are seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, that's called matter. How do you define matter? Whatever is an object to our awareness is matter. The contents of our awareness. In the words of the philosopher Arindam Chakravarti, anything that objects to your consciousness is an object. An object is that which objects to your consciousness. Imagine that your awareness is like a field spreading around. Then it runs up against the table, the Swami, the flowers, and the shrine. Those are objects. They're stopping your consciousness, and you take a look. Okay, here's an object. Whatever we see, hear, smell, taste, touch through our senses, that's matter. That's our first pass at this one reality appearing as matter. And it's an ocean of matter. There are things, there are people and animals and plants and the sky and the earth and the tiny and the vast, but all matter, all physical. And then, if you think a little more deeply, see, all of it appears to us in our minds. When we look inwards, we have a world, inner world, each of us. We have an inner world of thoughts, feelings, likes, dislikes, enjoyment, suffering, ideas, memories, personality. That's the world of the mind. It's the same thing now appearing to us as a world of ideas. Here is something interesting. We don't think that way. We think both of them are appearing to us at the same time. Here is a world of matter, and here is a world of thought. Vivekananda says, be careful, think a little more carefully there. As long as you're thinking of it as matter, it's physical. But then when you internally experience it becomes mental, intellectual, perceptual. Even the world of matter now becomes something presented to you in the mind. Let me repeat that. When you take a look from the mind's perspective, this physical world, including the body, is presented to you in the mind as mind. This is a crucial insight. It's not that the world exists outside and I am in the world. That's how it looks when you look at it as matter. But when you look at it as mind, then I am thought, feeling, perception, and in my perceptions, the world is coming to me in the mind. The physical world is existing in the mind. One Swami said, as long as you think of yourself as a body in which there is a mind, in which there is consciousness or Atman, you will never be free. That is a kind of a danger or a defect in our teaching methodology of Vedanta. What impression does it leave us with? When I say I'm not the body, not the mind, I am the witness consciousness, seer and the seen, the 5 levels of the human personality, the physical, the vital, the mental, the intellectual, the causal, and beyond that witness consciousness, it leaves us with a kind of unspoken, implicit understanding. Okay, what the Vedanta is telling me is, here is the body, and somewhere in there is a mind, and somewhere in this is some kind of consciousness, and I'm supposed to be that consciousness. Is that right? Vivekananda and Vedanta, what Vivekananda is trying to tell us here is, that's a way of teaching. He says this in this lecture more than once. Yes, I have taught you. You're not the body. Beyond that, inwards, you look inside, you'll find mind. Inwards, if you look inside, you will find the Atman consciousness. But that's just a way of speaking. That's just a way of teaching. Vivekananda says that. I don't mean it. Don't take me seriously. It's not 3 in 1. It is one only, which is appearing as 3 at 3 different levels. It's the same thing here and now. And you look at it even more deeply, beyond the mind, deeper than the mind, transcending the mind, is Atman, is consciousness, is being, Satchidananda. So, matter at our first direct experience, contemplate it a little more, investigate a little more, it's mind. Investigate a little more, it is existence, consciousness, place, Satchidananda. Vivekananda says, what? What are we talking about? Here, right now. The dualistic philosophies will say, the world of matter is the created, and that one which you found, that is the creator, that's God. They're 2 separate things. The Vishishtadvaitic philosophy, qualified monism, says this world of matter is the created, and the world of mind and consciousness is the reality, and this world of matter is a part of that, is a tiny part of it. There's a much vaster world of mind and consciousness. Advaita Vedanta tells us it's the same thing. Right here and now. one of the greatest intellects of our world today, Professor Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak. She is a post-colonialist. She's post-everything, let's just put it this way. And certainly no outward believer or friend of religion. But in a conversation, private conversation with me, I still remember, she was expressing her astonishment at some of the simplest sayings of the Holy Mother. I'll tell you what she said to me in Bengali, and then I'll translate. Who is this? No, someone who is not a so-called quote-unquote devotee. I mean, she's deeply spiritual, but not in the sense we conventionally understand it to be. She is saying to me, in Bengali she said to me, Mayer ki kotha hai Maharaj, ja ache baba shob ekhanei ache. You see the simple and deep saying of the mother. Maharaj, Swami, notice the saying. What is the saying? What did she say? My child, whatever is real, existing, is here right now. It is this thing which we mistake to be matter. And this is not the Holy Mother, this is me expanding on it. Or if you think more deeply, we think it to be a world of mind and thought and feeling and ideas. And in reality, it is existence, consciousness, bliss. Vivekananda says the same thing from a slightly different angle. Look at yourself. Look at yourself. Let's look at ourselves. What do we think of ourselves? Body. Here, I am this physical body. Look a little more closely. No, I'm not literally bone and flesh and kidney and liver. No, I'm a person. Every grown-up, educated, sensitive person thinks, I'm a person. I have thoughts, I have feelings, I have memories, I have projects, I have failures, and I have this. I'm a person with a personal narrative. This is mind. Look a little more deeply towards yourself, you will see yourself as mind. And as you really are, what Vedanta wants to tell us, you are awareness, you are being, you are bliss itself, Satchidananda. Again, the same thing Vivekananda tells us. We are born monists. You can't help seeing but one. It's either matter or mind or the Atman, Satchidananda. Just this morning, the monks, the Matajis, they were gathered around here. Some devotees were here in morning meditation. After that, there was a chanting of the Gita. It was a chanting of the 15th chapter of the Gita, which I and every monk knows or should know by heart. Why should know? Because you don't get fed in the Himalayas without that. Whenever you go for food, begging for food in the Himalayas, the monks will sit and first chant the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and then you're served. So I have seen some monks who are mumbling something, they don't know it by heart. So everybody learns it very quickly. And as we were chanting, the climax of the chapter is Krishna says, there are these three existences, Purusha, three existences. One, he says, Kshara, the mortal, perishable, our bodies, this personality which we have, this body which we have, Kshara Purusha. And higher than that, deeper than that, he says the imperishable, Akshara Purusha, which is God, the world of consciousness. For those who are sticklers to precision in Vedanta, you'll say not consciousness, reflected consciousness. Yes, of course. Reflected consciousness, subtle bodies all together. So that is Akshara Purusha. Swami Mahayogananda was reading it out, and I noticed, it's Isharwood's translation, right? Prabhavanji and Isharwood. Akshara Purusha is translated as God. And then Purushottama, higher than both of them, is the ultimate reality. He says, I, the support of the universe, as existence, consciousness, bliss, the Atman. Again, the same thing. It just struck me. I was sitting there, I was thinking about today's talk. Thinking, this is exactly what Vivekananda was trying to say, and Krishna said it thousands of years ago in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Hanuman just came to me that Ramachandra asked Hanuman, what do you think of me? So God is asking the sentient being, what do you think of me? And Hanuman says, as a body, see, as a body, I am thy servant. As a sentient being, I am thy part, a part of you. But as the Atman, I and you are the same thing. Jiva buddhya dasoham. No. Deha buddhya dasoham. Jiva buddhya twadangshaka. Atma buddhya tvamevaham. Iti me nishchitamati. As a body, as this Hanuman, I am your servant, you are my Lord. We're going to have a very beautiful song about this. Yes. As I am your servant, so thou art my Lord. A song from Kabir, translated by Rabindranath Tagore. And she's going to sing it. You've already done it, you're going to do it afterwards. All right. Look forward to that. I am your servant, you are my Lord. But now when I look myself as a sentient being, not as a body, as a sentient being, as thought, mind. You are the cosmic mind, Ishvara, Hiranyagarbha, the whole, and I am your part. I'm a tiny part of you. I'm not separate from you anymore. It's not a servant-master relationship. I'm a part of you. I'm not different from you. But if you go further, the ultimate reality, real nature, I am existence, consciousness, bliss, and you are the same existence, consciousness, bliss. You and I are one reality. Who is saying this? Hanuman, the devoted servant of Rama. He's telling Rama, you and I are one. And exactly what Vivekananda is saying. See it as matter. But what struck me about Hanuman's answer is at every stage spirituality is possible. As bodies we can be spiritual. We serve the Lord with this body. As minds we can be spiritual. We contemplate, love, meditate upon the Lord. And as the Atman, we can be spiritual. In our reality, we own up to it. Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. I am that. The consequences of this are stunning, really. Vivekananda says, then what happens of heaven and hell and birth and death? No heaven, no hell, no birth, no death. No birth, no death always reminds me of this anecdote, real story again. In the 1960s, Swami Madhavanandaji, the president, most revered president of our order, came to New York for a procedure in a brain surgery, and then he was undergoing physiotherapy at our Ramakrishna Vivekananda Center on the east side in Manhattan. Swami Nikhilanandaji was his host. And Swami Yogeshanandaji, who passed away just 2 years ago, at the age of 97, I think, 96. He writes, he was there. So he writes this very nice, little anecdote. At that time, the pill had just been launched, and there was a big debate in American society. The birth control pill, is it good, is it bad? And so a group of American devotees were sitting there and discussing it. And of course they thought the Swami wouldn't know about these, he wouldn't be interested in a birth control pill. And this most revered monk, the president of the order, from the corner of the room, he said, I support it. And then somebody said, Swami, you know about these things, you support a birth control pill? And he said, yes, no birth, no death. Vivekananda says, then what happens if it is one existence as appearing as many and you are that? In that case, what happens to birth, death, rebirth? Our religion tells us, Krishna himself tells us in the Bhagavad Gita, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu dhruvam janma mritasya cha. For those who are born, certain is death. But for those who die, certain is rebirth. What happens to all of that? Those become stories. Those become part of the movie. Those become Hollywood. The reality is, we are one limitless existence, consciousness, bliss. This reminded me of the great radical non-dualist Shankaracharya's guru's guru, Gaudapada Acharya, writing 1400 years ago in his Mandukya Karika, in the second chapter. There's a verse, a devastating verse. Na nirodho na chutpatti, na baddho na cha sadhaka, na mumukshur na vai muktaha, ityesha paramarthata. There is no end to this samsara. We feel scared. Oh, really? There's no end to this. We were told there is an end to it. You become enlightened, you'll be free. So there's no end to this samsara. Why? Because there's no beginning. That which never began, why would you want to end it? There's only one existence which appears to you as samsara, but there is no samsara as such. But what about all those people who are in bondage? Forget about samsara, but we are suffering. Nobody is in bondage. Nobody is trapped in samsara. You are that one limitless existence consciousness bliss. But what about all those people who are meditating and praying and driving a long way to Hollywood to come and attend the talk on Sunday? What about them? The sadhakas, the spiritual seekers. And Gaudapada says there is no spiritual seeker. There's nobody who's a spiritual seeker. There's only one existence consciousness bliss. Then what about the seekers of freedom? And freedom from samsara. Na mumukshu. It's nobody who is a seeker of freedom from samsara. They are all existence consciousness bliss. Oh, I see. You mean everybody is free, muktaha? Everybody is enlightened and free? He says there's nobody who's free. What do you mean? Because if you are in bondage, then only you would be called free. If you're not in bondage, if you're not trapped in samsara to begin with, you're not really free from samsara either. So you are just this existence consciousness place. We say, what madness is this? Ityesha paramarthata. This is the ultimate truth. This is the ultimate truth. And Vivekananda says this. And then being Vivekananda, he brings us down to earth with a crash. He says, but let us look at what our lives are. And then he flights of Vivekananda's eloquence, you see. What are we right now? How are we leading our lives? What's the truth of our lives? He says, slaves to the body, slaves to the mind, slave to the world, slave to a good word, slave to a bad word, slave to passion, slave to life, slave to death. Slaves we are right now. He is, if nothing else, he is most realistic. He knows, he says, I know where the shoe pinches. It's all very good and wonderful to talk in soaring and sublime terms of the human nature. But what is going on right now? The slightest aggravation throws me off my, on my Vedantic high horse. Why is this so? Because we see ourselves as body and that's it. Or as person, and that's it. But we do not see ourselves as the Atman at all. The same thing, here itself. And then what is the remedy for this? He says, and then he quotes from the Upanishads, this Atman is to be heard about and thought upon and meditated upon. Atmavari drashtavya, shrotavya, mantavya, niridhyasitavya. One of the oldest Upanishads. And the master, Yajnavalkya, is saying, my dear, the Atman has to be realized. It won't do just to say that, oh, this is great, I am the one existence appearing to be many. It won't do that. That won't do. Then how do I realize it? Hear about it. Which means you got to keep coming back to Hollywood on Sundays. That's the first thing. Listen to it again and again and again. So Vivekananda said, the truth is a corrosive substance of infinite power. You hear it, your spiritual journey is already started. Hear it again and again and again. Here we are hearing about ourselves. It's not boring because it's the truth about ourselves, who or what we are. This is what we have been waiting to hear for lifetimes. We've been parched to hear about this for lifetimes. So no, I'm more interested in God. Vivekananda says about God, it is the same thing you see it from outside, it's called God. See it as yourself, it is your own self. This reality, one existence appearing to be many, which you see as matter or mind or pure consciousness, you see it from outside, that I am separate from it, it becomes God. That's what you worship as religion. It's a faint echo of the real thing. What's the real thing? You. You hear it again and again. And then many questions will come. Yes, I've heard it. I know there's one existence appearing as many, and this is that existence. But how do I realize it as I, me, myself, as pure consciousness? How do I do that? Vivekananda says, there's no God greater than you, the real God. In the Upanishads, they say, Tattvamasi, you are that. What does it mean? There is no God apart from you, and you are nothing apart from God. Let me repeat that. There is no God apart from you, and Vivekananda adds there, the real you. There is no God apart from the real you, and the real you is never apart from God. Every little thing here, every bit, every little speck of dust always exists in complete identity with Brahman. It's always there. Every little speck of dust. So, it has to be heard again and again. But then we have questions. How is this possible? How am I not mind? How mind and body? How am I pure consciousness? What is pure consciousness? What is pure being? So questions. And those questions, Vivekananda says, the intellect has a role. He says, not only there must be faith, there must be intellectual faith too. So intellect must assent, say that this is true. This is quite entirely possible. This is great. So all the questions must be asked, argued out to one's satisfaction. One must get clarity. And then comes the role of meditation. Vivekananda says, there, the bhakta, the devotee, the lover of God, meditates on forms, images, pictures, visualizations, meditation. Training the attention to focus, stay with it. The yogi shuts out the external world and tries to discover that which is, and calms down the mind and tries to discover that which is beyond the mind. That is the yogi's meditation. But what is the jnani's meditation? The jnani's meditation, the meditation on the path of non-dual Vedanta is listen, think it through, get clarity, and then with a fierce intensity, one-pointed intensity, stick with that clarity. Stay with it from moment to moment. Vivekananda says, deny that you are the body, deny that you are the mind, know that you are the witness of body and mind. And how do you do it? Moment to moment. Then you begin to see with new eyes, this world with new eyes. First of all, you begin to see what a wonderful training arena this is. Every moment will be challenged. You try to drag you down to the body level or to the person level. I love these two sayings about spiritual life. I don't know who said it, but they're very Vedantic. One is, the person that you are, that person can never be free, but you will be free of that person. And the second one is, whatever is behind you and whatever is yet in front of you is as nothing compared to what is within you. Whatever is behind you, whatever is in front of us, or ahead of us in life, is as nothing compared to what is within you. And I can't resist. I was in Santa Barbara a few years ago. There was a note left after the talk. I said this, whatever is behind you and whatever is in front of you is nothing compared to whatever is within you. And somebody left a note in the kitchen that whatever is behind you, whatever is in front of you is as nothing compared to what is within the fridge. They had left some ice cream or something like that inside. Yes. So the second phase of this program today will be, Vivekananda says, questioning. Ask questions, ask whatever questions you like. I remember when I was studying Vedanta as a young brahmachari in Saradapet, next to Belur Math. This was about nearly 30 years ago. And our teacher, a very senior, very erudite Swami. So I remember after the class, I was walking down with him towards Belur Math, the main monastery, the big gates. And I said, Swami, can I ask you a question? I was afraid he might be offended. And he says, ask away. Better brains than yours have pondered about these issues for thousands of years. Don't worry that by your questions the edifice of Vedanta will come crashing down. Ask whatever you like. And I have found that to be true over the last 30 years. I haven't come across a single question which cannot be answered, at least to my satisfaction. I once met a scientist, a very sharp lady, a neuroscientist, and she asked me to explain Vedanta to her. I did, and she got it. Very sharp. And she, her reaction was, I'm not convinced, Swami, but I can't find a fault in your arguments. That's good enough. That's good enough. So that is the state of questioning, the stage of questioning, which we must do again and again. Clear it up, Vivekananda says. Intellectual faith, that your intellect must assent to it and say that this is true. All right, so that's what we will do next. I will do a peace chant now, and then we will go into the beautiful songs which are coming next. And then you'll make the announcements. They can stay in the hall or they can step aside, and then I'll come back after some time to deal with the question answers, to do the Q&A session. And everybody doesn't have to stay for the Q&A session, but I'd be delighted if you do. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. I pray to the Lord and pray to the Divine Mother, by their grace, by their blessings, may this knowledge that there is one reality appearing as many, and we are that reality, that great saving knowledge may dawn upon us in this very life itself. Thank you.
Listen to the song. And then you can go a little bit out to stretch a little bit and come within 5 minutes to work QA session next. This is good.
Check one. This is adapted from a poem by Kabir. This song has been translated by the great Indian poet Rabindranath Tagore, and you all have heard of Kabir the mystic. And Tagore translated his song. These songs were originally written in Hindi. So this song is called So Thou Art My Lord. I have to mention one name, Mary Beth Melton. She's known as a Krishna Sadhika. She was a devotee, a late devotee of Vedanta. So she put those poetries into music. So this is one of her greatest songs. So the lyrics are, so thou art my Lord, as I am thy servant. That's the chorus. He sees like the presence of Lord in nature. How could the love between me and thee sever? Like a leaf on a lotus abides on the water. And then this, so thou art my Lord, as I am thy servant. And then it goes, as the night bird Chakur gazes all night at the moon, so thou art my Lord, as I am thy servant. As the river enters into the ocean, so my heart ever touches thee, for thou art mine, as I am thine. So thou art my Lord, as I am thy servant.
Servant. such love ever be extinguished. So thou art my Lord, as I am thy servant. So thou art my Lord, as I am thy servant. As the river enters into the ocean, so my heart ever touches thee, for thou art mine as I am thine. So thou art my Lord, as I am thy servant. So thou art my Lord, as I am thy servant. So thou art my Lord, as I am thy servant. So thou art my Lord, as I am thy servant.
Will you, Mahajananda, will you announce? Okay, only announcement is this. You have staged for 5 minutes. Swami will also come back. And then we will have QA. And around, don't go away, because we have prasad for all of you. So if you don't take, we'll have to throw away. And okay, so please stretch, go for stretching, and we'll come back within 5-7 minutes. Okay.
Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. We're very glad. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. We're very glad that Ananda has agreed to sing another song so we can sit and listen to the song. If we have a big conversation, let's have it outside. Let's have our conversations outside and maintain the sanctity in the temple. Thank you.
Causation's laws to make them run. They live in bonds they die. Now know these are the outer crust, all space and time, effect and cause. I am beyond all sense of thought, the stars or comets free, before even time has had its birth. I am and I will be, nor angel I, nor man, nor brute, nor body thought, nor he, nor she. The books do stop in wonder mute to tell my nature I am He. Let eyes grow faint and heart grow faint, and friendship fail and love betray. Let fate its 100 horrors send, and clotted darkness block the way. All nature wear one angry frown to crush you out. Still know thy soul, you are divine. March on and on, nor right nor left, but to the goal. The beauteous sun, the glorious sun, the calm sweet moon, the spangled sky. Causation's laws do make them run. They live in bonds they try. From dreams awake, from bonds be free. Be not afraid this mystery. My shadow cannot frighten me. No one's for all that I am He. No one's for all that I am He.
So we're going to the second part of this program. We'll have a Q&A session. There are microphones on this side, and Kenny's got a microphone there, and one on this side too. So there are two microphones. You can, I think it's better if you go there and instead of making him run around, or you have to catch his attention. So to raise your hand and wave them widely for your hands, so that it's easy. We'll start here. Tell us your name and ask a question and be precise about it. Let's have the questions. Let's start. A moment. Yeah. Okay. You want to ask questions, or you just?
No, they're just standing.
They're just standing. Okay. Those who want to ask questions, you just raise your hands, and the microphone will come to you.
Pranam Swamiji, thank you for being the new voice of Vedanta. My question is, you have been reacting with many scientists and everybody, and since we feel Vedanta is a very basic thing, why isn't it spreading like a wildfire, and why is scientific community still not accepting Vedanta as everything?
Okay, that's a very good question. Why isn't the scientific community accepting Vedanta or other forms of spirituality akin to Advaita Vedanta? Because there are some very great similarities between Advaita Vedanta and, say, something like Dzogchen Buddhism. So why not? I think this question is very relevant to today's talk. Notice how Vivekananda says, what you see as matter, you can see the same thing as mind, and ultimately you can see it as Atman. existence, consciousness, bliss, which means there are not two different domains. This is a domain of science, and then religion or spirituality is some other domain. It's this thing. We're talking about reality. Like Professor Gayatri Spivak said to me, you have to speak about what's here, not something else. And that's the challenge of a materialist, of a skeptic, of science. We are not interested in the supernatural, in God or heaven. We don't even know what those things mean. We are interested in here and now. And Advaita Vedanta boldly says, yes, we are talking about here and now. This thing, this very thing which you are investigating. Okay. The reason is why science has not and will not very quickly take it up is because science can explain this thing means whatever we are experiencing, can explain it very powerfully. The materialist paradigm, that everything is made of matter and energy, and there is time and space and matter and energy, that's the only reality that there is. And we have been very successful in explaining everything through physics and chemistry and biology and all the other sciences. Why do we need Vedanta also? You have to make a case for it. And I think Swami Vivekananda makes a very powerful case for it in this talk, in this lecture. What's the case for it? How would you present it to a scientist? Here's the case. Vivekananda says this very thing is matter. And the scientist agrees, yes, it's matter. But then a deeper understanding of this thing is that it is mind. Here is the crucial move. This is where we must slow down and carefully think, what would a scientist say to this? Because from a scientific perspective, it's matter, energy, time, space, that's it. Nothing more. But you can ask a question, what about mind, Mr. Scientist? Mind, everybody has a mind, and you, Mr. Scientist, I'm sure you also have a mind. And so you're thinking, you are remembering, you're imagining, you're desiring, you're understanding science, you're doing science with the mind. You're not a zombie. You have a mind. What is that mind? Can you explain it in terms of matter? And then the scientist would say that, yes, so what we call mind, we have minds, very unfortunately, from a scientific perspective. Truly, someone like Daniel Dennett, they would be comfortable if there were no minds. If just bodies, that's it. That it would be perfect. The scientific paradigm would work perfectly. Well, what they will say is, well, mind is also matter, Mind is generated by your brain and the nervous system. Then you will ask, how? How does a physical thing, an object, generate a subjective experience? Tell me, show me one object in the external world which has a subjective experience. Even there are objects which replicate all of our so-called mental activities, decision-making, memory, even creativity. The new AI machines, the programs, they are doing things which we thought only human beings could do. But they are doing all of it, they are doing it. But none of them have an internal first-person experience of thinking, feeling, imagining. How? And luckily, we are at a juncture right now, today, in today's world. This question has become the most important question in science. What is the question? The hard problem of consciousness. David Chalmers has formulated it in a particular way. But this has been around with us for a long time, but right now it has become very strong. So you can ask that question, and let me tell you, no scientist has any answer for that. And it's not a small thing. Our minds, our thoughts, feelings, emotions, our experience of the world, that's what makes life what it is. And you're trying to explain the universe. You can't explain the most important thing in the universe. The first thing in the universe which we experience is our own minds. You can't explain it. You have no idea what it is. So science must take it seriously, this question. And Vivekananda says, actually, you cannot reduce mind to matter. Every philosophy student who goes into a philosophy class, they'll always have this silly joke, and they have heard it. What is matter? Never mind. What is mind? No matter. Anyway, silly joke, but that's true. So that's the question you must ask. And the scientists are asking this question about mind and consciousness. In fact, if you Google it, I've forgotten the exact list, but if you Google it, 5 greatest questions in philosophy today. The 5 greatest questions in philosophy. Oxford University Press made a list of it a few years ago. I saw out of those 5 questions, 4 were related to mind. What is consciousness? Who are we? What happens at death? What is mind? Things like that. 4 out of 5 questions are the greatest questions in philosophy, they were saying. Only last one was about justice or something like that. But 4 out of 5 questions. In science, they're saying the most important question, and by some surveys, the second most important question in science today is a question of how does the brain generate consciousness? How does matter generate mind? So that's the question to ask. And because we are unable to answer that question, now some philosophers and scientists are moving to this idea that maybe matter does not generate mind. Maybe mind is ubiquitous, it's all pervasive, it's mind and consciousness are just as real as matter. Vivekananda says you can't reduce matter to mind to matter, but matter can be reduced to mind because matter is something that appears to you in mind. So we are living at a good time for this question to be asked. It won't be fast, it won't be quick, but it is moving in that direction. Yeah. Yes. Tell us your name and ask the question.
Okay, Namaskaram Swamiji. My name is Sujata, and my question will come at the end of this. Many have referenced the Gita in the past for various reasons. And for example, most recently, in 1965, since we're in Hollywood, Oppenheimer in 1965 quotes chapter 11 about Lord Krishna talking to Arjuna, and I think it stanza 11, 12, and 32 maybe. But and essentially it is Lord Krishna saying he's a destroyer, everything resolves into him. I need some help reconciling or understanding why people who do some very bad actions also reference the Vedanta. And a lot of people do use it.
That's a straight answer. Devil quotes the scriptures. See, if I'm doing something very bad, I can always quote the script. I want to be seen as being justified by religion, by morality, by whatever, something which justifies my actions. It's very natural for them to quote scriptures. Why only Vedanta? All right, next. Yeah.
Namaste, Swamiji. Do you mind if I ask question in Hindi?
In Hindi? All right, I'll translate. You ask in Hindi.
Sure.
Tell us your name and ask the question.
My name is Komal. My question is, जब यहाँ पे आ रही थी कार में तो काफ़ी सारे कर्म योगी से रिलेटेड क्वेश्चंस थे जो आपने ऑलरेडी आंसर किए, लेकिन कोई भी चीज़ अचीव करने के लिए आई ब्रेक इट डाउन. इफ़ आई हैव अ प्रोजेक्ट आई ब्रेक इट डाउन इन स्मॉल स्टोरी पॉइंट्स, छोटे छोटे काम करने में. क्रिया करने के बाद या फिर मेडिटेशन करने के बाद बहुत अच्छा और शांत लगता है, लेकिन उसके बाद फिर से खाना ही बनाना है, बर्तन ही घिसने हैं. तो कर्म योगी का मतलब ये है क्या कि वो काम करते वक्त मैं गॉड के बारे में सोचूं?
All right, let me answer up to that. So she's asking that while I was coming here in the car, I was thinking about karma yoga, and whenever we do something, we break a big project into smaller bits, into chunks. So I experience peace and joy after prayer, meditation, worship. But then after that, I have to cook and do the dishes. So is karma yoga, I have to keep my mind on God while doing the dishes? The answer is yes, but it's not as unglamorous as just doing the dishes. There's a book written by a Buddhist. The name of the book is very interesting. After the ecstasy, the laundry. In spiritual life, we say that you not only have to go away, but you have to come back. You not only have to go away to Vedanta society, but you have to come back home or back to the office. You not only have to go away in meditation and prayer, but you have to come back to the world, right? So you bring this learning, this wisdom, this light back into the life. How do you do that? Most important thing is our work. Whether at home or at your workplace or in the community, the stuff that we do in life. If you divorce that from spirituality, then both will suffer. Spirituality will suffer, and our so-called secular life will also suffer. Spirituality will suffer because the demands of family and profession are so much that our time and energy are all taken up by that, and very little time is left over for study and meditation, and so your energy will be sucked away by your day-to-day life. And spiritual life and secular life will suffer because very soon it will lose all meaning. It will just seem like, why am I doing all this? What's the point of it? It's the same old doing the dishes and cooking and doing the dishes again and again. So karma yoga bridges this gap. So just as meditation and prayer is deep and peaceful and you feel connected to the divine, similarly, while doing the dishes, while working in the office or driving down the freeway, if we offer all those actions to God, that my Lord, I learned in Vedanta, you are present everywhere. And you have put me, this is the battlefield in which you have put me. This is the arena in which I'm supposed to do spiritual practice. So my driving, my doing the cooking and doing the dishes and working on my computer, all of that is my worship which I'm offering to you. Then what happens is, all throughout the day, it's spiritual practice. It's not spiritual practice divorced from the rest of our life. In fact, spiritual practice is the crucial barrier that has to be crossed is when you stop the practice and transition into the rest of your life, that should continue into life. The barrier between practice and life must be broken down at some time. Initially, one Swami put it very nicely. He said, work is worship, that's great, but first, work and worship. So there must be a time for worship, time for meditation, time for study, and work. Then work as worship. Try to make it as an offering to God. And finally, work is worship. That's a pretty advanced thing. Yeah. The crucial takeaway from this is we must at some point dissolve the barrier between spiritual practice and life. Life itself is a spiritual practice. Aurobindo said, life itself is yoga. If you don't look at it that way, then you will say that I do yoga, spiritual practice, and I live my life. But when you see life itself is yoga, everything becomes spiritual practice then. So karma yoga is a very powerful, very important for most of us. Very few of us can spend the whole day in study and meditation and prayer. We are in the field, and it's good for us. You'll see that the world helps us in spiritual life when we convert karma into karma yoga.
Swamiji, my name is Kesavan Koranda. I'm one of the devotees at Vedanta. My question is, when you talked about the Vairagya, is it different than your willpower or both same?
Is Vairagya different from willpower? Vairagya literally means dispassion. Cleaning a colored cloth. A cloth which has been colored in worldliness. If you clean it, purify the mind, that's called Vairagya. It takes willpower, but Vairagya and willpower are not exactly the same thing. In fact, the more Vairagya you have, the more willpower you'll have.
प्रणाम स्वामी जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपने आपसे वार्तालाप करने का एक मौका दिया और मेरा बस इतना सा प्रश्न था कि
I'll translate. Yeah.
मेरा बस इतना प्रश्न था कि मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि परमात्मा के पास पहुंचने के लिए साधना ज़रूरी है और अपने आप को पूरी दुनिया, इस तामसिक दुनिया से अलग रख के मेडिटेट कीजिए या ध्यान लगाइए, जो भी करिए, पर एक टाइम के बाद आपको ऐसा लगने लगता है कि ये दुनिया ज़रूरी नहीं है या लोग ज़रूरी नहीं है. तो आप कैसे उस बैलेंस को बनाए रखें अपने लाइफ में जहाँ पे आप अपना.
So I understand the question as this, that he's saying that when you move towards God, if you isolate yourself from the world and you meditate and pray and study, and very soon a time comes when you feel The world is not necessary, people are not necessary. It's me and God. That's what you think. It really doesn't happen that way. Swami Vivekananda said powerfully, he said, "He who runs away to meditate and die in a Himalayan cave has missed the way. He who plunges into the vanities and the luxuries and the foolishnesses of this world has missed the way." If you plunge into life, you have missed the way. If you run away from life, you have missed the way. Then what is the way? And he says the way is to divinize life itself, to find God in those who are around you, in the activities that you are doing. Because if we have understood anything from Vedanta, what is the one takeaway from this talk? One existence appearing as many. So what you find away from people in your meditation room, in the meditation retreat, in the Himalayan or whichever mountains you go up to, what you find there is also here. Sri Ramakrishna said cryptically, "Jar hetai ache tar shetayo ache. Jar hetai nei tar shetayo nei." The one who has it here has it there. The one who doesn't have it here doesn't have it there either. So the thing is to spiritualize life itself. Look at the teachings, the whole motto of the Ramakrishna Order, our order, which Swami Vivekananda, he formulated the whole teaching in one short phrase: Atmano mokshartham jagat hitaya cha. For your own liberation and for the welfare of the world. For your own liberation and for the welfare of the world. But why that and? Why that and? Why couldn't you have just said for your own liberation? You become enlightened and be free. That's what you want, right? Your ultimate bliss, overcoming suffering. That's it, finished. Why and the welfare of the world? You go back 2,000 years before, nearly 2,000 years before Vivekananda, when Jesus was asked by those people, remember they were all Jewish. So they asked, Judaism is a religion of commandments, of laws. So they have more than 500 commandments. Not 10 commandments, that's Hollywood. That's the Hollywood version. There are more than 500 actually. So natural question is, which is the most important one? Which is the most important one? They asked Jesus, which is the most important commandment? And Jesus said, "Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and all thy might." First commandment, that's the one. That's the most important one. And you can imagine all the people around shutting their notebooks. Good, thank you. And then Jesus said, and one more. Love thy neighbor. Love thy neighbor. He was asked for one commandment, but he gave two, which means he regards both as essential. You can't separate them. It's all about God, so you should have just said, love God, that's it. No, and love thy neighbor. Again, thousands of years before Jesus, in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna and Arjuna are talking, and Krishna sums up the entire Gita in one short phrase: "Ma manusmara yudhyacha." Keep your mind on me, think of me, the Lord, and fight the battle of life. And, the same and, coming down through thousands of years. Think of God, pray to God, meditate on God, think of God, keep your mind on God, and fight the battle of life. You can't run away from that. You can't say it's not essential. The Lord is telling you it's essential. Love God with all your heart and love your neighbor. Vivekananda says, Atmano mokshartham. Yes, struggle for your own enlightenment and liberation, moksha, and do good to the world. Why this and? Why can't we get rid of this and? Those who are secular, those who are skeptical about religion, they are fine with do your duty in life. They are fine with love thy neighbor. They are fine with do good to the world. But that part about keep your mind on God, love God, your own liberation, they don't believe in that stuff. Those who are spiritual, we want enlightenment. They are okay with, keep your mind on God, love God, work for your liberation. But they're not particularly interested in love thy neighbor. And I don't hate my neighbor, but I'm just, as he said, I'm not interested. He or she is not essential. No. Why you can't do that? The answer to that is here in the talk which we just heard. Especially Vivekananda's original. I'll highly recommend. Go back to the original. 3rd volume of Swami Vivekananda's complete works. There's one existence appearing as many. Actually, it's a series of 3 lectures. Unity is the goal of a religion, and then the next one is, I forget the name, it's a wonderful, the free soul, I think, the second one in between, and then one existence appearing as many. It's a sequence. But this is the culmination. What we talked about is the culmination. If it is one existence appearing as many, what you are looking for in meditation, what you are praying to, what you want to attain, what you want to realize, is your neighbor also, is the one you just called not essential. So somewhere in our minds is, this is the world and there is God. That's exactly what Vivekananda is saying. No. It is this very thing which you think is a material world. It's nothing other than mind. It is this very thing which you think is the mind. It's nothing other than existence, consciousness, bliss. If you look at it from outside, it's called God. If you really realize what it is, it's your real nature. That's why. You cannot do away. So then what do? Do you still have the same relationships with the world as you had with other people? No. Spiritualize those relationships. Whether it's in the workplace or in the family, spiritualize those relationships. So it's a seamless life, huh? A seamless life, your own spiritual life, meditation, prayer, and with the world, service. Your attitude is no longer, what can I get from you? Your attitude is, what can I give? What can I do for you? Because my Lord, you are present in all these ways. Okay. Yes.
Pranam Swamiji, and it's very nice to be in your presence. I've been listening to you for a long time, and this is the first time to be here. And my question is, on Friday, you walked us through the meditation, and
on Friday?
Thursday. Sorry,
I was at in Santa Barbara.
Yeah, I was here Thursday.
Okay, Thursday.
You walked us through a meditation which I was meditating with you, and it took to a place where there was this awareness, a sense of I am the awareness, and everything appears in my awareness. I'm sorry.
Take your time.
I've had the same experience, also doing Vipassana for a very long time. But however, there is this silence and the void in Vipassana. That also has become a sense of it's in my awareness. But I cannot feel I am all that. There is still that feeling, sense of duality there. How does one go?
Yeah. Think in this way. It's a very good question, but very subtle and deep. When I feel the silence and the void in the Vipassana meditation, it's not a dead void. It's not an inert, inanimate, insentient void. It's what the Buddhists called a luminous void. There is what they call a cognizant quality to that void. Remember, I feel the void. Or it is a blankness, or it is a peacefulness. It is a silence, but an experienced silence. So the void is permeated through and through with light. Light means not this light, by you the light. What are you then? In Buddhist, I'm using entirely Buddhist terms. You are the indivisible unity of clear space of the void with the luminosity, the cognizant luminosity. This luminosity and void, this unity, indivisible unity, this is what we really are. That's one. That luminosity, that awareness, which you felt in the Vedantic meditation also, it's the same thing. This is what you are. You felt means you are that. You can't objectify it. But let me ask you, that luminosity, that awareness, is it there now?
When I'm in the space of meditation, it is there.
If you're not in the space of meditation, suppose you're walking, talking, you're driving a car, is the awareness gone? Are you unaware? Are you unconscious?
It's not unconscious, but it's not the same quality.
It's not the same quality, but is it aware or not?
Yes, it's
Why is it not the same quality? Because it seems to be overlaid with sensory perceptions, thoughts, feelings, inadequacies and all of that. Yes. But underneath it all, separately, is it not always what it is? Because if it was not there, life itself would be over. There would be no experience at all. Vedanta tells you every experience is mediated by, illumined by, made possible by that awareness. Are you with me? So then you must admit it's always there. That same quality may not be there. That's because the thoughts kick in, the personality kicks in, that's why. But the awareness is always there. And the rest of it, the quality of that awareness, what you're calling the quality, the feel of it, the experience nature of it, that keeps changing. In meditation, it's sublime, peaceful, deep. And not in meditation, it's different. But it's still awareness, right? So the experienced feel of it, let me call it the contents of awareness. Those keep changing. But the awareness itself is constant. So because it's, as somebody put it, instead of saying it's always there, Vedantists will say it's always there, Buddhists will say it's never not there. Same thing. It's never not there, always there, awareness is there, and all the contents appear and disappear in it. Have you ever, or is it ever possible to experience the contents without that awareness? Are you all with me? This is a very nice thing to notice. Is it possible to experience without the awareness? No. Is it possible for the awareness to be there without the contents, without any contents at all? Yes, yes. Those who have done Vipassana, who have practiced meditation a little bit, you know it's possible. And once in a while you may have experienced a little bit of it. At least you know it's theoretically possible. Okay, now contents in awareness, always changing. Awareness shining. If the contents cannot ever exist without that awareness, but the awareness can exist without the contents, in that case you have to say the contents are dependent on that awareness. If they are dependent on that awareness, in some sense they are not apart from that awareness. Like your dream. In your dream, everything, everyone, every experience that you have in the dream, good, bad, irrelevant, whatever it is nothing but you, the dreaming mind, isn't it? And all the contents of your dream have no existence apart from your dreaming mind. Your dreaming mind is in fact everything in the dream. Although if you see a tree or a person, it doesn't seem like a dreaming mind. It looks like a tree. A tree looks like a tree, a person looks like a person in the dream. But you know after waking up, it's just mind. Similarly, here in this awareness, not theoretically, actually begin to feel that whatever I experience in that awareness, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, thoughts, emotions, ideas, people, my own body, all of that is appearing dependently on my awareness. It is nothing other than me, the awareness. Try to stay with this feeling. Where is the separation between me, the awareness, and a thought? That is not separated by anything. It's in my awareness. It appeared like a wave in an ocean. And in the thought, the perceptions of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, they are like waves in the ocean. Everybody is a wave in the ocean that you are. Everything here is a wave in the ocean that you are. Every experience here is lit up by awareness. You, the awareness shining, everything here shines after you. This is Upanishads. You are the light which lights up everything in the universe. By your light, everything here is lit up. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasha sarvamidam vibhati. Kathopanishad, Mundakopanishad. In this way, we will begin to appreciate, because this is important to appreciate it experientially. First, logically, understand that nothing is actually, whatever we experience in life is not apart from you, the experiencing awareness, okay? And then you will begin to get the feeling of non-duality, that they are not apart from me. What Vivekananda said, one only appearing as many. Who is the one appearing as many? You. You are appearing as your own universe. Therefore, nothing in your universe, in your experience, can be apart from you. That's non-duality. That's oneness. See, the noted British psychologist R.D. Laing, in England in 1950s or 60s, he said the three things which human beings are always afraid of, which define our lives. Fear of death, first of all. You might say, oh, I am not afraid of death. I don't even think about it. Aha, you don't think about it. Freud will jump on you there. You don't think about it? Very big problem. You're suppressing it. The second thing that R.D. Laing says we are all afraid of is other people. Other people. Those who you love, those you do not love, those you hate, all of them, you're afraid of them. Because they can impact your happiness. In some sense, we are afraid of other people. The existentialist, Jean-Paul Sartre, he said, hell is other people. And the third thing he said, we are all afraid of is our own minds. Our own minds. The poet, Sylvia Plath. She killed herself, right? The bell jar. So what we hate, and she talks about it, why she had these suicidal thoughts. It was her own mind. Why do people, when they kill themselves, they shoot themselves in the head? It's being tortured by the mind. So afraid of death, afraid of other people, afraid of the mind. And look at the beauty of this Advaitic teaching. All other people are nothing but you. Oh, so they are all hell is me? No, they are no longer hell, because they are nothing but I, the one existence consciousness bliss, as this person, as all those other persons. I know the traditional way in which the Advaita masters in the Himalayas, when they start a teaching in Hindi, it's generally in Hindi, they will say, Mere Atma Swaroop. All of you who are gathered here are my very self. So there is no need to be afraid of anybody, actually. They are all yours. I was once walking past the temple of the Holy Mother, Ma Sharada in Belur Math, and I was just thinking, how does God regard all of us? And when I walked past the temple of the Holy Mother, the answer is very simple. God regards all of us as her children. So they're all mine. There's nobody who is a stranger to you. That's Holy Mother's teaching. Learn to regard, that was the last teaching. Do not find fault with others. If you must find fault with yourself. No one is a stranger. Make the whole world your own. Because the whole world is you. Death, you can have no fear of death. Because you cannot die. It's that one existence appearing as many. Let this body go, let 100 bodies go, let 1,000 bodies go. You are a master at dying. You've done it many, many, many times in the past. It's nothing to you. It's nothing to you. Vivekananda says it's less than the fall of one hair from our head. The losing of a body for the soul, for the Atman. And fear of our own minds will be overcome when I am centered in this, I am the awareness. It's because I'm centered in the mind holds me hostage. I'm centered in the awareness, I am that luminosity. It's all right, the mind is my radiance. It's nothing more than that. The mind depends on me, I don't depend on the mind. Good. So we have had a wonderful session here. Another 5 minutes? All right, we have got another 5 minutes. You have to attract the attention of the people with the microphones. They are pretending not to see you. Don't look at me, look at them.
Pranam Maharaj, it's a great opportunity to see you live first time for us. So I grew up in India, and I thought I understood Dharma by doing duties all my life. But, after in this stage of my life, I find that I really don't understand Dharma well. Even though we read Ramayana, Mahabharata, all the Buddhist stories and all that. So how does one really, even though in academics you are doing that, how does one gain knowledge of Dharma? What is the right action?
If you have been doing your duty, your sense of having done your duty, that's very good. That's a solid first step towards dharma. It's those who do not do the duty, whatever is in front of you, what you think you should do. It's like self-sabotaging. The house of spirituality is built then on loose foundations. Like a house built on sand versus a house built on rock. The one who has a strong sense of, there's a word, conscientious, right? That is a house built on rock. But the house itself has to be built, you're right. So how do I know what is right, what is wrong? That you're asking that? Yeah. So it's a huge subject. I'll give you one sutra which will help. Whatever takes us towards God, enlightenment, Brahman, whatever you call it. Whatever takes you towards God is dharma. Whatever takes you away from that is adharma. We have to expand on this, yes.
Namaskaram Swamiji, and also namaskaram from my father in Singapore, who wanted to convey it to you. I'm going
to be in Singapore.
Yes, lovely. It is my fortune to meet you here, and not there. One of the things that I come up with is reconciling the idea of satisfying the intellect, and you spoke a little bit about it today, and I would love to hear a little bit more. For example, in today's lecture itself and in today's Q&A, as you were explaining about the hard problem of consciousness, my intellect leaps to say, is it not true that this is a matter of time for observable science to catch up and provide an explanation through matter? And until then, can it not be argued that Advaita Vedanta or these philosophies are placeholders and practical ways for me to move through life because I am here?
All right, so let me answer that.
Sure.
So I think you've all got the question. That instead of saying this is a hard problem of consciousness and then Advaita Vedanta or Buddhism or something gives you the answer, why not wait? Science will give you the answer just in time. So this is called promissory materialism. And it's a thing. So they say it's a real thing. The scientists say, look, I have had a noted scientist in New York. I can tell his name, Massimo. He is a philosopher and a biologist. And in a discussion on consciousness, he said, look, life, at one time life was seen as a mystery, something that science could never explain. Now, today, we understand life down to the molecular level. And that's a good enough explanation of life. So like that, I admit we don't understand what consciousness is, how the brain can produce consciousness, but clearly there is a very strong correlation between brain activity and your thoughts, your experiences, first-person experiences. So that gives us a clue that the brain has something deeply connected to consciousness and mind. Give us time, 25 years, 50 years, we will explain it. This is promissory materialism. I will give you a materialistic explanation of consciousness on good grounds because I have been doing it all throughout. Christopher Hitchens said, your God is a God of the gaps. Whatever little gap you find in science, he said, God has done it. And as the science closes those gaps, your God is squeezed out of those gaps. God has no place to stay, homeless. So, why not? Here is the answer, why not? And you should look up David Chalmers' The Hard Problem of Consciousness. He's saying not because we are unable to explain. He says in principle you cannot explain it. You cannot explain it no matter how much neuroscience advances. Patricia Churchland, for example, she says consciousness problem is a problem of neuroscience. Keep on doing neuroscience, you'll one day understand consciousness. No. And the hard problem of consciousness is precisely that. See, why life and explanation by science is not analogous to consciousness and explanation by brain science? Why not? Why not? Why aren't they similar? Why can't you do promissory materialism there? Because from a Vedantic perspective, and I said this to Massimo, but I don't know how much he caught on, but from a Vedantic perspective, how did we define matter? Anything that is an object to consciousness is matter. So life, all living processes, are they objective or not? Yes, a doctor can examine everything, and life is an objective process. And matter is objective. You are explaining something complex in the objective world with something more fundamental in the objective world. There's no problem at all. In principle, they are the same thing. But when you want to reduce the subjective to the objective, you're making a huge jump, what is called in philosophy a category mistake. You can explain brain activity in terms of molecules, neurons, electrical activity. You can do that. But your thoughts, emotions, ideas, how? How can a flash of electricity do that? Now, you asked a question. That same question was asked 25 years ago. There was a challenge. Have you heard of that? Some of you? Recently, it's been coming up in the news a lot. So in New York again. So one of the leading neuroscientists, Christoph Koch, he was a chief neuroscientist for the Paul Allen Brain Institute. He and David Chalmers had a bet 25 years ago, that exactly what you said. Christoph Koch said, the way neuroscience is advancing now, we will get a neural basis and explanation for consciousness, say within 25 years. And David Chalmers bet, you cannot do it. So somebody had forgotten about it. Somebody reminded them last month, 25 years is over now. So the jury is out, and they got together, and and the experts' consensus opinion, you have utterly failed to explain consciousness. And then there's a picture, if you look it up, Christoph Koch going with a crate of champagne and giving it to David Chalmers. And David Chalmers was a gracious winner. He said, yeah, we have made a lot of progress, and we'll make more progress. And then Christoph Koch said, yeah, I think, give me 25 more years. And he said, that I think that's how long I'll live. So 25 more years, and we'll explain consciousness. And David Chalmers again said, no. So you're making a mistake in principle. So this is the answer. You cannot do it in that way. One of the most brilliant people living today, Ed Witten, he is a string theorist in Institute of Advanced Studies, where Einstein and others were there, in Princeton University. Somebody asked him this question. If you Google on YouTube, consciousness Ed Witten, he's a string theorist. He's not a consciousness studies expert. But they just asked him, so do you think we'll be able to understand consciousness in the near future? Understand means in terms of brain. And his answer is a very gentle, considered little statement he made. He said, I think, a very soft-spoken person, that's why I'm imitating him. I think as we do more neuroscience, we will learn more and more about the brain. But consciousness will remain a mystery. So this is the answer. But it's a very good question. Yeah.
Pranam Swamiji, my name is Harish Kumar. I want to share some experience in my life and ask your blessings and opinion. When I was in high school, I would get the question, who am I? And it would scare the hell out of me, because the mind would go to places where I don't know anything. And it would go round and round, and then it was hard for me to come back. So I stopped asking this question for a while. Now it doesn't frighten me anymore. So the question I have is, how much is enough and how little is too much? Does it relate to likes and dislikes?
How much is enough and how little is?
Too much.
Too much. Related to?
Likes and dislikes.
Yeah, that's a good question. When you think about one existence as many, that I am Brahman, the entire universe is my radiance. You know what the consequence is? Consequence is samarasa, a homogeneity, that the sameness. Gita again and again says the characteristic of the enlightened one is the one sees the sameness everywhere. I am limitless awareness, and they are all limitless awareness. Everything that happens to me is limitless awareness. All the good, bad, and miserable. Yeah. And all of it is the same reality appearing in many different ways, as what seemed to me earlier was great and awful, frightening and tempting. All of that is actually one reality. So slowly, the terrible doesn't seem so terrible anymore. The very attractive doesn't seem very attractive anymore. It's the same thing appearing in many different masks. That's a sign of maturity anyway, quite apart from spirituality. That steadiness is a sign of maturity. Right? So it should come. likes and dislikes should even out. Nothing is so terrible, and nothing is all that great and grand. Death is terrible. No, I'm ready to die at this moment. Or, I'm ready to live for 100 years. It's all right. Life, so Vivekananda says, forever quench this thirst for life. This drags from birth to death, death to birth the soul. That was the conclusion the Buddha came to. This hunger, I must live in this bundle of flesh, blood and bones. This is who I am. This little packet of gooey stuff packed into skin. This is who I am. Miserable. No. Not at all. Have no fear of death. Don't die. Who dies? Those who fear life. And as long as the body remains, enjoy. It's a wonderful life. But have less of likes and dislikes. As likes and dislikes even out, there's a name for it. It's called Jivan Mukti. Freedom while living. All right, we should wrap it up now. The last one here, okay.
Pranam Swamiji, my name is Srinivas. So I have this question about, it's related to a talk you gave a few days ago on Adhyaropa Pavada. So in all the examples we use in non-dualism, we talk about the snake and the rope or the 10th man, where the existence, both the present and non-present, the superimposition in the same plane of existence. But when we talk of Atma and Anatma, they are in different, the Anatma is wheeling the Atma, which are in very different planes of existence. So is Neti the only practical way to bridge that gap, or is there any other ways of reconciling this gap?
All right. Both your question and the question before this. At Santa Barbara yesterday, there was this gentleman who has been studying and practicing Tibetan Buddhism very intently, Dzogchen Buddhism. And he said the inner teachings, the core teachings his Lama gave him were this. Meditation, non-dual meditation. He said the Lama told him there are 4 stages. The first stage is training the attention, basically what we call in Sanskrit ekagrata, focus. Reduce the flickering of the mind. Any meditation technique, whether vipassana, mantra japa, anything will help you there. Train the attention, step 1. Second, use that trained attention to cleave closely to this understanding you have got from Vedanta, that I am this one limitless awareness. Stay with it, stay with it, stay with it. Second stage. Third stage, this will become a what they call non-contrived, natural staying with it. I am awareness, it will be natural to you. Right now it's natural, I am the body. Then it will be natural, without any effort it will become I am awareness. Third stage. Fourth stage, this is a Tibetan Lama telling the disciple, you will get homogeneity. Everything will be one radiance for you. That's it. So here, what you are talking about, the neti is an inquiry that whatever appears to me is an object. And then you go deeper and you find that I am the witness consciousness. But then, what that lady was saying, the objects seem different from me. And this has been strengthened by the practice also. But this is a false distinction actually. The objects are your own radiance. That's what Adhyaropa Pavada means. That's what Adhyasa means. It's not that the objects are imposed upon you. They are you. Vivekananda says, one existence appearing as many. You, the one existence, you are appearing as mind. You, the one existence, you are appearing as senses and the objects to the senses. They are literally you. You need not be afraid of them. Vivekananda says, things are dead in themselves. We breathe life into them and then we run after them or we run away from them. We breathe life into them, we give existence to them. They are nothing but you, ultimately. All right. Thank you so much. I pray to Sri Sri Thakur Ma Swamiji to bless all of us. We are on this grand spiritual adventure together. And it's very evident. This is a powerful place, by the way. The reason why online is great, but in person here in this shrine is important because there's something non-verbal going on here. There's a presence here. I remember I was in the high Himalayas, I was studying Mandukya Karika. Day and night I would read. One monk told me, look, you'll spoil your eyes that way. Read in the morning and meditate in the night. But I'm a bookworm, so I stuck to my reading. I would light candles and place the book in the middle of the candles to read in my little cottage high in the mountains. But then one monk told me something very interesting. He said, Swami, read on. In Hindi he was telling me, what you cannot understand there he means in the plains of India, you will understand here. And he was right. He was right. I'll only say this. What might be very nice to hear online, but becomes real here. And we carry away that fragrance of that reality with ourselves. So I pray to Thakur Ma Swamiji to bless all of us. May this become a living reality in our lives. Om, peace, peace, peace. Namaste and thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
So, our deep thanks goes to Swami. Our love and best wishes as also is a request to come back again to us. We will be leaving tomorrow for Singapore. But today we got a very high Vedanta to practical life, how to apply and in everyday life and make special places of pilgrimage where we can get greater inspiration. I am not to say anything more on that subject. You all have to absorb more insight. But my point is that today, now after this, thank you all for coming, joining us. And now come, there is food is waiting. We'll go and chant together. And then you please join and take wherever. Don't come into the temple for eating, but you can have anywhere outside or the rooms, whatever available. Thank you all for coming and joining.
Quick announcement, it looks like some cars are double parked, so if you are one of those, please remove so that those who are wanting to leave, they can take out their cars. Thank you.
Silver Toyota.